Black Adam is finally here after 15 years in the making. It's a passion project of obviously Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and one of the most anticipated DC movies for the last 5 years. Does the film live up to the hype? Was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson the right person to play Teth Adam? We're going to answer this and more in our review for Black Adam. Now, first and foremost, I have to give a massive thanks to Warner Brothers for giving us access to see the film early and for obviously inviting us down to the London premiere. An amazing experience, so many thanks to you guys, and it's always a pleasure to work with you. But we are here to talk Black Adam. We are here to talk about one of the most talked about films of the last year and of the last 5 years. Probably even 15 years. But before we get into all that housekeeping, as always, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the link below to make sure that you are getting notifications for all the upcoming videos that we have coming out. So, Black Adam takes place in the fictional city of Kahndaq, where Black Adam is revered as a protector, a hero of Kahndaq. We go into this film with Black Adam being resurrected from his grave and taking on the Justice Society of America, who perceive him as a threat. Unbeknownst to them both, there is an even greater threat lying in the shadows, and we have the story build out of obviously the two parties coming together to fight the greater evil. Usual comic book stuff. Nothing too complicated in terms of story or narrative or where you expect the story to go. In that regard, the overarching story of Black Adam isn't too complicated. Was I expecting something more complex? Not necessarily. It's a DC comic book movie. I think sometimes they go with this very simple approach of generic good versus evil, or questionable good and questionable evil, especially with a character like Black Adam. I feel like there were many places where they could have fleshed out the story a lot more than what they did. There was a lot of exposition from either a narrator or the characters, and I'm very much now a person where it's like, don't tell me, show me. And I think they could have done a lot better with showing what was happening or what was coming or what was going on the screen, as opposed to telling us through some kind of narrative or some kind of voiceover type situation. The central theme to the film obviously is Black Adam as a character. Is he good? Is he evil? Is he the anti-hero? Is it necessary for him to tap into this darkness to become the hero that one, Kahndaq needs, and two, a hero that is obviously different to the Justice Society of America? And it's this polarizing idea that is talked about constantly throughout the film, and again, more of a tell me this, show me type situation. Is it overly complex? Again, no. Is it something that requires a lot of in-depth thinking and perspective to understand? Not really. It's not the first time we're kind of seeing this kind of dynamic of evil or darkness being done for the greater good. We've had the Suicide Squad obviously within the DCEU, and there are many other characters who embody this anti-hero mentality as well. Having said all this, The Rock 100% looks like Black Adam on screen. The action scenes were very well put together. They were violent, they were brutal in a lot of places as well. Not so much bloody. There's not really a lot of bloody violence in this film, but the action scenes are very much like punchy, and many of them are very well choreographed. You can feel Black Adam's power in every scene that he's in. Comes across as very much as a presence, unstoppable. The Justice Society are up for a challenge when it comes to taking him on. Very clear from the get-go. Like, if you're looking for a film where you've got some really good, solid action scenes, this film might be for you. Speaking of the Justice Society of America, Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate was easily the character that stood out for me the most in this film. Not necessarily The Rock as Black Adam. He did a great job, don't get me wrong, but Pierce Brosnan embodied what I love about Dr. Fate. It's this almost gentleman sorcerer type vibe where he's definitely older than his years, but at the same time, he knows how to put down when it's time to put down. He's suave, he's, a gentleman in all things, even the way he does his magic. And there are so many iconic moments in this film, not just with Dr. Fate, so many iconic moments in this film that are taken from the comic books and taken from the animated shows and taken from the games, that lovers of those mediums are going to see them and be like, yes, I see where they got that reference from. I love that. I'm excited for that. I definitely want to see more. Aldous Hodge as Hawkman was great on screen. I think they could have used him a lot more. I did like his characterization. I did like his costume. Very much, you know, what I would expect, what we've seen in the trailers. With a lot of the actors, there was an issue with script. I think they were dealing with a very challenging script, which I think needed fleshing out a lot more, which I'll tap into a little bit later. But overall, most of the cast did a very good job in trying to deal with a script which felt a bit dated at times. And at this point in the DCEU, and this point in making comic book movies, I think we were expecting a lot more with the script. It felt very Daredevil, Elektra. Those of you know, those who don't, right? So I think there's something that needs to be addressed with this film that many people may or may not have touched on in their reviews. And it's two things. One thing I mentioned earlier was that the script felt dated. Obviously, The Rock has been pushing for this film for the past 15 years. And in 15 years, the movie industry has changed, society has changed, comic book movies have changed. And it feels like, again, this film feels like it would have been better had it come out 15 years ago, had it come out around the time of the X-Men movies and the first Spider-Man movies and, you know, Daredevil and the Elektra movies. This film feels like it's been stuck in time for the last 15 years. And it's obviously they've added polish and shine to it, because obviously technology has improved, but the actual script work and the actual body of work feels dated. Feels very, very dated to me. This is not to say I did not enjoy the film. The film has entertainment value, but I feel like a lot more could have been done with such an important film. And I say important because there's been this push of narrative that this film was going to change not only the hierarchy of the DCEU, but, which it kind of did actually. It kind of did change the hierarchy, because obviously there's new characters, so obviously the power scale has changed in the film and in the DCEU. But it's also been this push of like this film being central to changing what it means to have the DCEU and what it means to have an expanding universe of DC characters, not just the Justice League, but obviously now we have the Justice Society and we have Black Adam. Also, watching this film, you're gonna get a very Middle Eastern, Northern African vibe from it. It very much seems that it's set in that region. Obviously, we know in the comic books, Black Adam's origins are set in Egypt. Kandak still being in that region. So the question then becomes, was The Rock the right person to play this role? In a world and a society where we are pushing so much for diversity and inclusion and equity and representation in films, especially comic book films, was The Rock, a Polynesian man, the right person to play a character whose origins clearly are from the Middle East and North Africa, very much an Arab region? Was The Rock the right person to play this role? Should it have been someone from that region who embodied this role instead? Should The Rock have taken a step back and maybe worked more behind the scenes than trying to be upfront in front of the camera? Again, The Rock looks like Black Adam, but there is that clear knowledge of everyone who's watching that this man is a Polynesian man, but Black Adam that we know and where Black Adam is set is very much Middle East, North Africa. This is not to take away from the film. Again, The Rock does look like Black Adam. He embodies the role very well. And, you know, I tip my hat to him for doing a good job of pushing this film. But again, the question becomes, should he have taken a step back, worked more behind the scenes, and let another actor from that region shine in the camera instead of him? Who knows? What we do know at this point is that The Rock is pushing for a lot of changes behind the scenes with DC and with WB in terms of the future of the DCEU. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen the film, so I'll give you a minute to kind of like skip ahead. But he worked very hard to bring back Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill's obviously in the post-credit scene, and that post-credit scene is actually amazing. It's a very powerful moment between two very powerful characters, actually three very powerful characters, because you can't forget Amanda Waller. Shout out to Viola Davis. But again, with this push of what's to change with the DCEU, how much can we expect it to change where it's not going to be a case of The Rock and Black Adam being at the center of it all, and everything revolving around him, Kandak, and the JSA. The JSA could easily become, you know, a cheap imitation of the Justice League instead of being their own characters with their own entities. So my final thoughts on this film. Again, there were a lot of enjoyable moments, a lot of enjoyable action scenes, and credit needs to be given to the actors for doing a good job with a very difficult script, and a script that could do with a lot of fleshing out. However, overall, I would give Black Adam a 6 out of 10. On my first watching of this film, I left the film very excited, very energized, and very ecstatic at what's to come with Black Adam. I don't think a 6 is a bad score. I just think there's a lot of work that could be done, but it is great to have this introduction of new characters to the DCEU, to cinema, and, you know, again, credits due to The Rock for pushing this film for so long. But again, script work was an issue for me. A lot of exposition was an issue for me. And I think as someone who loves comic books, who's loved comic book characters for so long, seeing certain moments in films like this where they've taken from, again, comics and games and the animated series and things like that, and I see them on the big screen, I get very excited, and I get very much like 15-year-old me would have loved this, 8-year-old me would have loved this, 24-year-old me would have loved this. So I always try and take a step back when trying to do these reviews, because if I gave you my review when I first left the film, I would be like, oh yeah, it's a 9 out of 10, it's freaking amazing. But obviously haven't seen it twice at this point, and having the time to actually like chill and digest it all, the film is a very good 6 out of 10. It just needs a lot of work. But let me know what you guys think of the film. Let me know in the comments below. Is 6 too high? Is a 6 too low? What did you think of, you know, Black Adam being played by The Rock? What do you think of the Justice Society of America? What do you think of the villain? But yeah, leave a comment below, guys, and let me know what you think. And I'll be back again with another review for you very, very soon. Until then, peace out.